Spring, the season of rebirth and bloom. Like the flowers that are budding, nature reawakens and opens back up to the world. Color, light, brightness, and a resurgence of energy after the sleepy season of rest and introspection that is winter. The vernal equinox is opposite the autumn equinox, but both days hold the energy of balance, centering, and equilibrium, as these are the 2 days out of the year when day and night are in harmony, where light and dark stand as equals. When spring arrives, it is the dawn of the return of light. The first shift towards longer days, warmer weather, and an outwards expression and pursuit of self. There is a softness in spring. It is gentle, nurturing, and full of hope for what we will expand into and become. Between the sunshine, there is pockets of gloomy, rainy days that nourish nature so that she may grow and reach her full potential. Spring is about the growth, the process, the push, and the expansion. This is the time to allow yourself to reawaken, try new things, and embark upon the path that your soul longs to venture. This time of year is full of beauty and possibility in nature, and it bids us to see that reflect within ourselves, to see all the possibility of what we might become if we allow ourselves to embrace a new chapter. Join me today as I share how I'm honoring and celebrating this seasonal shift in this final installment in my Honoring the Season series with the beautiful season that is spring. The spring season has long been associated with the concept of spring cleaning, so I thought a cleansing mist for your space would be perfect for this season. So what I used for my mist was some fresh sage, rose petals, slices of lemon, fresh basil, dried lavender, and fresh mint, as well as some salt and lavender essential oil. Filled a pot with some water and dropped all of those ingredients in. This is going to look very similar to a simmer pot setup because the setup is identical basically. The only difference is that the pot is not going to need to be filled so high with water. As you can see here, the water is relatively low in the pot because I'm bottling this and I don't need a ton of water, and that way the water itself will be more concentrated. When you're making a simmer pot, the water's evaporating because it's simmering for so long. I know that my simmer pot that I made for the winter solstice video I used for several days. Also, this lavender essential oil I'm using is Hungarian lavender. If you've never used it, it's the most incredible smelling lavender. I highly recommend it. Finished the pot with some salt. And then this step, if you have a mortar and pestle, I highly recommend not skipping it. You could also just use a bowl and a spoon. But I took some rose petals, some of the lavender petals, and just a couple pieces of the different herbs that I'm using and the lemon peel. So I put just a couple little pieces of lemon peel, and then I tore up a few pieces of mint leaves, some sage leaves, and then the basil that I used was quite large, so I just took one large leaf and I broke it up into little pieces. And what you're going to want to do is mash this up pretty good with the mortar and pestle so that all of the oils in all of these different, the herbs, the flowers, and the lemon peel start to release from those items as you mash them up with the mortar and pestle. And that way you're going to have a concentration of those oils and the aroma of those oils. So it's going to look kind of like this, and you're really going to be able to smell it at this point. And you want to drop that into your mixture in the pot. This is just going to amplify those aromas, if that makes sense. So that will help that water really infuse with those scents so that your spray is a little more concentrated. So you're going to want to turn the flame on and let this thing simmer and do its thing. It's not like a simmer pot, so it's not going to sit for as long. I used a slightly higher heat than you would with a simmer pot. And this simmered for about an hour and a half. It does have the benefits of a simmer pot where your house is going to smell delicious. But keep in mind that you're just trying to get all of those scents to release into the water. And then you're ready to bottle it. So in the meantime, you may want to set up your bottles, whatever it is you're going to use. If you're using a large spray bottle, you can always, of course, make this with a lot more water. My spray bottles are pretty small. I think they're like 4-ounce bottles of water. So just go based off of what you have. But as you can see here, I have one with a sprayer and one that doesn't. So that's just going to be like my back storage of this spray. What I'm doing here is I'm just dropping a sprig of dried lavender into each of the bottles so that when I pour that water in there, it's going to have the lavender to just sort of sit with it. And as you can see here, I am straining the water. So I have a little strainer with a measuring cup. Because my bottles are quite small, this was the perfect solution for me. If you're doing a big bottle, you may want to get like a funnel and do something a little different, but this was perfect for me because there's a little spout on the measuring cup. And this ended up being perfect for filling my 2 bottles. I didn't even need to refill it. So for me, I really needed a very small amount of water. I did have the benefit of it making my house smell nice. So it was almost like a mini simmer pot as well, but turned out really nice, smells delicious, and perfect for clearing your space. I started setting up my spring altar like I always do by cleaning the area off and making sure we are starting with a nice, fresh, clean space. So I dusted, I sprayed the area down and wiped it down good, and I also smudged the area with some white sage to make sure everything was nice and clean and clear and ready to go. I really wanted this altar to really highlight the beauty of the season. Obviously, all seasons are beautiful, but I feel like nature is really just sort of reawakening in the spring, and I really wanted to highlight that reawakening of just color and beauty and softness that I feel spring really embodies. And I feel spring is also very feminine. In terms of the different seasons, I feel like spring is a very feminine time in nature. So this altar definitely reflects that feminine energy. At the center, I have this little, we're going to call her a statue, that actually belonged to my grandmother, that to me just embodies the energy of spring. It's so beautiful. And I also included some pink swirly candlesticks, some roses, as well as some dried lavender, lots of very feminine and beautiful spring elements I wanted to bring in, and tons of crystals as usual. I will put a list below in the description in case you're wondering what crystals I use, but to name some of them, I definitely use tons of rose quartz. There's pink opal, lots of amethyst as well. I use clear quartz, blue calcite, Caribbean calcite, I believe it's called. I used selenite. I'm not sure if I said clear quartz already. There's a number of different crystals I used in this mix, but I really focused on soft colors, pastels, feminine, soothing energies as well. Oh, there's some fluorite in there as well. I'll make a full list below because I'm just watching my video here as I was setting up and naming crystals as I see them. But overall, I think this is quite possibly my favorite altar of all of the seasonal videos that I've made. I think it just turned out so beautifully. I also added an Empress card from the Shadowscapes Tarot, as well as the Spring card. I forget what the full name of it is, but it's the card for the season of spring from the Sacred Forest Oracle. And I also lit all my candles, the candlesticks, and my 2 little tea light candles, and smudged the area with some white sage and some Palo Santo. And I finished off the cleansing of the area with that spring cleansing mist that we made. This is a perfect way to use it. You can use it for cleansing your altar as well as your home. So again, this altar is so beautiful in my opinion. I'm really, really happy with how it turned out. Here you can see how beautiful this little statue is. I think she's truly the feminine embodiment of the spring season, and lots of beautiful crystals. Oh, flower agate is definitely a crystal I made sure to include here. It's perfect for spring. But I hope you think the altar turned out nicely, and I hope it inspires you to create a nice little altar, a little space in your home to honor the seasonal shift to spring as well. I thought it would be cool to create a spread to do a reading for yourself, and you can pair it with some journal work if you would like. I'm just going to use cards here today to show you an example of the spread and the little prompts for each card I pull that I came up with. So I've titled this spread the Self in Bloom spread. So what you are going to want for this spread is 2 decks. What you choose is completely up to you. You can do 2 tarot, 2 oracle. I'm going to show you an example here with a tarot and an oracle deck, but what you choose to use is completely up to you. Allow your intuition to guide you, whatever you think will best serve you and suit where you're at, and also just what you have, whatever decks you have as well. For this example, the decks I'm using, just in case you're curious, are the Shadowscapes Tarot, and the Oracle deck I'm using is the Secret Language of Light. So the way that I'm going to do this in the examples, I'm going to start with the tarot cards. I personally, when I'm using a tarot and an oracle deck, I like to start with tarot and then layer oracle on top. I feel I get a more profound weaving that happens, but however you decide to do this, whatever order you decide to do it in, is completely up to you. The oracle deck is going to act as clarifiers here. So whatever your second deck is going to act as clarifiers that are going to go on top of the first cards, that are going to add a layer of clarification and deeper messaging, meaning to whatever came up in that first card, to help you understand a little more maybe what that first card is speaking to give a little more context. If you've never read with clarifiers before, I actually have a whole video on my channel about it. It's one of my favorite techniques in reading, and I use it for almost all of my readings. I will link that below if you are interested in checking that video out. If you don't know what an underlier is, it is the card at the bottom of the deck when you flip it over after you lay your cards out. Once you've shuffled, lay your cards out for the spread, and then you flip up. The bottom card is your underlier. Here we are going to have 5 cards. It's a 5-card spread in terms of placement, but you're going to ultimately end up having 12 cards in front of you between the underliers and the clarifiers that are going on top of this. So we have the underlying energies, as I mentioned, 2 of Pentacles with the tarot card, and then transformation from the oracle deck. The first card here is the big energy of the spring season. So this is kind of what is the big energy that I may feel or find is a common theme this season in one way or another. So that would be your first card. In this example, it's 10 of Wands. Your second card you're going to pull is what did I shed in the fall and winter? I look at fall and winter as kind of the seasons of more introspection and shedding and letting go of things. I feel like a lot of that kind of happens in those seasons, so I kind of clumped them together here, whereas I feel like spring is the blossoming, the blooming, the expanding, the self in bloom, and then as we go into summer, it's that full expansion happens, I think. So what did I shed in the fall and winter? Okay, and here is the King of Swords. I'm just letting you know what the cards are if you're curious because you like the artwork or something. And then the next card in the spread, what is emerging from within? What am I becoming? So it's kind of what are you blossoming into? What are you blooming into, if that makes sense? And I think with spring there is a big energy of rebirth. What is that rebirth that's happening with you? What are you becoming from what you shed? And then the next card in the spread, I don't know if I said this is 5 of Cups. The next card in the spread is the Hierophant here. What does fully blossoming into my full self or my potential look like? So right, this is what that is, and what does that look like for me? How can I harness that energy? What is that going to feel like? What does me really kind of stepping into this new rebirth of what's coming in spring for me? And then last card here in the spread is the Star card, is the example card. The prompt is, what aspect of my life is fertile this spring season? Meaning, like, because spring is all about fertility and nature and things are starting to grow and become, what is it in your life that is ready to become? What do you need to nurture? Otherwise, being, if we're talking about in nature, what are we watering? What are we giving sunlight to? Where are we focusing our energy this season so that we can grow? Now, if you're going to do this spread just like how I'm doing it, you're going to put oracle cards on top of these. The big energy of spring here, we have inward revolution. So you're going to look at how those 2 cards talk to one another. So 10 of Wands, inward revolution on top of it. So then next prompt here, what did I shed in the fall and winter? Putting an oracle card on top of that, soul name. Okay, so again, the oracle are just going to add a level of clarity, first of all, to what that tarot card is speaking to, what aspect of the life perhaps. It's also going to add a deeper element that I think will really help with the journaling if you're wanting to journal this out. Now, what is emerging from within? What am I becoming? What am I rebirthing into? What am I blossoming into? The card of bloom, if you will. Authentic truth on top of 5 of Cups. And then here, what does fully blossoming into my full self, my full potential look like? Inner voice on top of the Hierophant, okay? And then again, these are just examples. I just always say, like, sometimes I feel like people think these are readings, and I'm just showing you my spread here, really. These cards, I did shuffle the deck and grab them, so they're not like intentionally like good examples or anything. But anyways, last card. What aspect of my life or myself is fertile? Meaning, what should I give water to? What should I give sunlight to? What should I nurture so that it can grow this spring season, so that it can reach its full potential, right? So we had the Star card here and then insight on top of it. So I hope you like this spread that I came up with for spring. Let's get on to more fun spring celebrating and honoring activities in this video. I had not done any baking for this seasonal series yet, but I do feel like baking is a great way to bring some of the flavors and energies of the season into your home, and I love baking, so I thought for this final installment for spring, I would make a lemon lavender cake, which just screams spring to me personally. But I started by making a lavender infused honey. You want to make sure the lavender you're using is edible. Some is not. This one in particular is for making lavender tea, so I knew it was safe. I just sprinkled some lavender into this jar with some honey, and I actually let it sit for a few days so the flavor could really come out of that lavender and infuse into the honey. Then I went ahead and made a lemon cake. So this cake itself is actually from a recipe from a YouTuber, and his name is Preppy Kitchen here on YouTube. I will link the recipe below in case any of you are interested in trying it. I didn't use his full recipe for lemon cake because he makes a frosting for it as well. I just used the cake itself and kind of created my own topping situation for the cake. But the cake itself turned out delicious, even given I had to make a couple modifications, so I definitely recommend it. However, my bundt pan had different ideas for the aesthetic outcome of this cake. I figured nature is imperfect as well, and I wasn't going to waste a perfectly good cake, so I went ahead and used it and did not make another one. I am topping with a glaze here that's just simple, made with powdered sugar, lemon juice, and half, so it's a nice lemon glaze, and then I drizzled the cake with some of that lavender-infused honey. This is a great way to add lavender into this mix without overwhelming people with the flavor of lavender, because some people think lavender tastes like soap. I'm not one of those people. I personally love the flavor of lavender, but it's not for everyone, so this is a little more subtle. And I also garnished the cake with a little bit more of that lavender flower that I had that's for making lavender tea, so again, edible, safe to use. And I also garnished with a little bit of lemon zest. So lemon zest adds such a nice brightness, and for me personally, I feel like spring has a lot of brightness in it, so bringing this mindful element of brightness into the recipe. There's also lemon zest in the actual cake itself, so just sort of brings a bit more of that brightness. I try to be intentional when I'm doing seasonal baking or seasonal cooking about bringing in what I really associate with the season, so that's why I maybe make these points that seem silly to bring up, but it's because I'm trying to be intentional about what I'm doing and how I connect it back to the season. So this cake turned out delicious, and if you give it a try, let me know what you think, or if you decide to do some other type of baking for the spring season, share it in the comments section below so we can all get some recipe ideas of other things we can make that sort of taste and feel like spring. So let me know what you think of this cake though. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you enjoyed this video and found some ideas that have inspired you to celebrate the beauty, possibility, hope, rebirth, and blossoming the spring season holds, and that you find ways to embody these energies within yourself. As I finish up this final video in my Honoring the Seasons series, I am full of love and gratitude for all that nature gives us every single day and through all 4 seasons. I hope whatever parts of this series you tuned into left you with inspiration to honor and observe these seasons, find beauty in them, and live your life more closely in rhythm with them. Thank you all so much for watching. Wishing you a spring season of radiant light, love, and the positive new beginnings you've been hoping for. Until next time, take care and be well. Bye.